Well, hey, and welcome to Mrs. Leonforte's free-range classroom. So, things have changed over the last week or so, and I wanted to make sure that not everything changed because there's just enough of that going on. So, one of the things that I really wanted to keep doing with you guys is read our book. So I managed to smuggle it out of the building before they shut it all down. And so I am going to go ahead and record myself reading it and then post the videos of the chapters successively so that you can watch them whenever. You can watch them all at once. You can watch them once a day. It's up to you. Anyway, so I'm going to back up to the start of the last chapter that we were reading. We were sort of in the middle of the chapter, but since I almost sort of don't really remember where we were, I'm going to start over, okay? I'm going to put a timer on so we don't go over too much. Ready? All right. Chapter 34, Birth of a Star. Keisha, Albert, and I went to Albert's after school. Keisha and I asked if we could come over and see his house, and he shrugged and said, okay. The whole time, my hand is in my pocket, holding on to that piece of paper. Possible. Albert's house is big, but dark and dusty when we enter. There are piles of things everywhere. Not papers like our house, I mean piles of things with tubes and wires, things I don't recognize. His mom greets us. Hey, Albert, you have guests? Her tone tells me that this never happens. Yes, I do. These are my friends Keisha Almond and Allie Nickerson. Allie and Keisha, this is my mother, Audrey Dubois, he says, waving at each of us. And she comes over and shakes our hands. Can I get you anything to eat, she asks, sounding nervous. Albert pauses. No, thank you. We'll just go upstairs. His mom says okay as we are already following him up a skinny, twisty staircase. What kind of host, Keisha begins, doesn't allow his guests to have food? Dang it, Albert, I wouldn't have minded some. It wouldn't be logical to offer you something that doesn't exist. But she offered it to us. He opens his backpack and begins stacking his books on his desk like a pyramid. I can assure you that the refrigerator is quite empty. In fact, it hasn't been plugged in for a week. Oh, Keisha says, her voice getting quiet. I'm sorry, Albert. I really am. Now I know why his mom's voice sounded funny when she offered, and why he eats so much at school. Yeah, me too, I add. He turns surprised. Why? Keisha scrunches up her face, the look she gets when she really can't figure him out. Well, I say, because you don't have food, or a refrigerator. It must be terrible to be hungry and not be able to eat. And it's probably embarrassing for you. Maybe, I think it would be, I guess. He tilts his head. Filling the refrigerator does not fall within the parameters of my responsibilities. Therefore, the lack of food therein would have no reflection upon me whatsoever. We are silenced. I don't know about Keisha, but I couldn't answer that for $1 million. For the looks of her, I don't think she can either. I finally lift my gaze from his face to look around his room. Just a bed, a desk, and an empty trash can. The carpet and his blankets are all dark green, but his walls have colorful posters, all science-related. There is one I like the most, a picture of outer space, but with every color you can think of, all swirled together with an orange glow off to the side. It's beautiful. I point at it. Albert, what is that? That is the birth of a star, the single most important thing that can happen in space. Well, the single most positive thing anyway. It's beautiful, I say. He stares at it. Indeed it is, he says, sitting down at his desk. Keisha laughs. You're going to be a star one day, Albert. You'll do something amazing. I don't like... He shifts in his seats. I don't wish to be in the limelight. Limelight? I don't like a lot of attention. Well, you better get used to it, Albert, Keisha says, because there is no way on God's green earth that you won't have boatloads of it when you go out and cure cancer or discover another planet or something. That's my hope. I want to change the world. Do something good. And then, all of a sudden, I feel sad as Keisha goes on about how famous Albert will be, how he'll be written about in history books and stuff. Hey, Keisha says, poking me, why are you so serious over there? I'm thinking about the things Albert and Keisha will do, and how I can't even read. I can't tell them that, though, so I try to sound happier. I'm not that serious. Oh, yes you are. Dead serious. You need to smile. I am smiling, I say. Well, someone better tell your face about it. I hesitate. Can I tell you both a secret? I ask, reaching into my pocket to touch my possible paper that I've carried since I got it. Yeah, of course. And you won't tell anyone? Yes. Now, what's the secret? We won't tell anyone because that's what the definition of a secret is. Albert is quiet, but his head is tilted to one side. I've never really told anyone this, but I have a lot of trouble in school. With reading and writing. Well, everything but math and art. Keisha laughs. That is not a secret. And then I feel terrible, and I feel my eyes beginning to sting. I start walking away, but she pulls my sleeve and pulls me back. Albert looks upset. No, that's not what I mean. I mean that we know that, but it doesn't matter to us. However, Albert says, I do wish it was easier for you. We will not share your secret. Mr. Daniels says I have something called dyslexia, which makes it hard to read letters. That's why I've been staying after school, so he can help me. Keisha is wide-eyed. Extra school after school? Oh, that's terrible. I mean, terrible. I want to tell her I'd spend the night at school hanging upside down in the closet if I could just read. I don't mind. He's nice to help me. And we'll help you, Albert says. But I worry that maybe he can't help me, I say. And then I mumble, It makes me feel like I'll grow up to be a nobody. How can you say that? Keisha asks. Well, you'll probably have some big successful baking company, and Albert will, do whatever in the world Albert will do, and I'm just hoping to read a menu in a restaurant. Keisha steps up and puts her arms around my shoulders. You say he's going to help you, right? You say, Albert adds, and then pauses to think, that you'll grow up to be nobody, but logically, if nobody's perfect, well, then you must be perfect. Perfect? Me? No, I say. You are pretty perfect, Allie, Keisha says, laughing. Do like Mr. Daniels says. Be yourself, be who you are. You know, Albert says, I've wondered about that saying, and I can't ever find an answer anywhere on the internet. What do you mean, I ask. Be yourself. You always hear that. So? Well, Albert begins, what if you don't know who you are? I get what he means, I think. People ask what you want to be when you grow up. I know what kind of grown-up I want to be, but I don't know who I am now. Albert stretches his legs out. There are always people ready to tell you who you are, like a nerd or a jerk or a wimp. I think how it's hard not to believe the bad stuff. Look at it this way, Albert says. If you had to be in a tank of water with a killer whale or a stone fish, which would you choose? Well, duh, who's going to choose a killer whale? Well, in the wild, killer whales never attack people. Like, never. A stonefish is way more dangerous with its 13 venomous spines. It's the words. If the killer whale were called the friendly whale, no one would be scared. And I think of the words, the power they have, how they can be waved around like a wand, sometimes, for good. Like how Mr. Daniels uses them, how he makes his kids like me and Oliver feel better about ourselves, and how words can also be used for bad, to hurt. My grandpa used to say to be careful with eggs and words, because neither can ever be fixed. The older I get, the more I realize how smart my grandpa was. Chapter 35. A picture is worth a gazillion words. We have a sub. This is bad news. Then it gets even worse. We begin with an assignment to write about a person that we know who is brave. I start to come up with reasons to get out of the assignment. Go to the nurse. I haven't yet met a sub who says no to a trip to the nurse when you tell them you're going to throw up on their shoes. I put on my sick look. Just as I'm about to raise my hand, the sub turns to me in class. "Where is Allie Nickerson?" Freaky. I raise my hand. "Oh, I have a note here that says you don't have to write, so you can just draw a picture of your person." My face gets hot. "Well, that figures," Shay says. "She can practice her coloring, and then there will be Play-Doh and nap time." My toes curl in my sneakers, and I slide down into my chair. The sub looks at Shay and shakes her head, but kids are already laughing. So what's the difference? The sub gives everyone else a piece of lined paper, and she gives me a plain one. I sit, stunned, wondering why Mr. Daniels would do this, betray me. Now I feel like I really am going to throw up. I stand and have to concentrate on walking to move towards the door. "Where are you going?" the sub says. "Out." "You come back here and do your picture now. I mean it." I'm finished. "What are you talking about? It's blank." "No, it's not blank. I drew a ghost in a blizzard." As the door slams behind me, I hear kids laughing at my answer. Soon, I'm keeping Mrs. Silver's chair warm. "So, Miss Nickerson, I must admit that I've enjoyed not seeing you lately. Things seem to be better with Mr. Daniels as your teacher. He's keeping you in line?" "Yeah, he's a peach," I say, with the cut in my voice. "Are you going to call my mom?" "No, I don't think so." "I want you to call her. Please call her." "Why?" "Please?" I ask. I don't even know why I'm asking exactly. She looks surprised, but is silent. She dials the phone and talks for a bit. Tells her that I've had a tough day. Then she hands the phone to me. "She would like to speak with you." I take the phone from her. "Allie, what in the world is going on?" I try not to cry. I really do. But the tears leak from my eyes. Everything is so tight inside, and I'm so tired of it being this way. It's not like I wake up every day planning to be a failure. And I thought I had finally found someone to help me. And then Mr. Daniels pulls this. "Allie, did you hear me?" "Mom," is all I get out. But it's squeaky and filled with longing to pull her through the phone wires to sit with me. I hear it in her voice. She feels as upset as I do. Put Mrs. Silver back on the phone. Mrs. Silver listens for a bit and finally says, "Oh, okay, Mrs. Nickerson. We'll be in touch then." I head to the bathroom and sit in a stall long enough for the evidence of crying to go away. When I get back to class, I ask Keisha to help me write a note so I'm sure it's all correct. I leave it on Mr. Daniels' desk. "I'm never reading after school or playing chess with you ever again. Not ever." That afternoon, I drop onto my usual spot at Peterson's. I wonder what my mom will say about the call from school. When she comes over, she kisses the top of my head, which says it all. "So, a ghost in a blizzard, huh?" She smiles at me. I half smile. "Yeah. Pretty funny, I think." She leans over and puts her hand on my cheek, and it's everything I can do not to cry right there in front of everyone. "I trusted him," I tell her. "He was the first teacher who..." And I stop because I can't say the words. "You know, honey, I bet there's an explanation for this. I bet Mr. Daniels didn't mean for this to happen. Give him a chance, okay?" I nod. I hope she's right. Because I want to think that Mr. Daniels doing something mean to anyone is like a fish swimming upside down and backwards.